minutes early, or actually it looks like we're right on time now. Please take a minute to sign in so that if you need credit for attending this webinar, we have that. And we also have a record of who's attending. So you would sign in at signin, all one word, .nmdelt.org. And the link to that website is also in the chat, so you can do that. And I will get us started. So my name is Tina Height, and I will be your moderator for this, and as well as Dawn Dutton. And with us, we have Maria Saenz and Laura Lopez, who are going to be presenting C3 competencies, collaboration career pathways. It's an overview of the C3 project that's being presented here in New Mexico. If you have any questions, please use the chat box, and Dawn and I will be moderating those and compiling those, and we'll ask those towards the end unless there's a question that really needs to be answered at the moment. If you are watching the recording and not watching live, please disregard this message. So now I'm going to turn the mic over to Maria and Laura, and we'll see you again at the end of the presentation.
Okay, my name is Laura Lopez, and I am an instructor with the Pathways in Career Education program at New Mexico State University, Alamogordo.
Hi, my name is Maria Saenz. I'm the director of the PACE program and also academic support here on our campus. Today, we are going to be sharing an overview with you on the C3 initiative.
Quick start. Imagine your state has the opportunity to dream big and create an innovative and effective professional development initiative. Funding is limited, professional development is fragmented and sporadic, and programs are struggling to provide effective, high-quality instruction. You have the chance to make one recommendation to AE state leadership for how to create professional development that will have a transformational impact on adult education programs.
What is New Mexico's reality? What are some of the things that we are dealing with? We are facing we are facing issues in the area of poverty, educational attainment, addiction, substance abuse, suicide, violence, low social determinants of health. We rank the worst in the nation.
So why C3? And this is a call to action.
Today, in our presentation, we're going to be sharing some things with you, some ideas, some things that have been generated through the work of the C3 initiative to help you as leaders to be able to be better in your positions, to give you ideas, and to share some of the many challenges that we have gone through the initiative. The C3 framework is a model for competencies, collaboration, and career pathways. And we also be discussing the 7 key competencies for career pathways, and also blended learning and technology integration, and what are some of the key takeaways, and what are some of the lessons learned through our process as we're going through it now.
How the C3 model, the origin and the initiative of the model design.
So what was the beginning of C3? In 2015, TAUS, the tech program, they launched a comprehensive career pathway program. The New Mexico Higher Ed Department was wanting to figure out a way on how was that information going to be shared with the state. There were also ideas that that came from the National Center for Adult Learning and Literacy, the mentor-teacher model, and how are all of these components going to come together to be able to put together the initiative?
So the year one was the designing phase of the initiative. 3 programs originally started as co-leads. They used research best practices and they developed their own programs. They created the Made in New Mexico products to serve as examples and models for programs throughout the state. The initial model and principles were that people learn best in community by learning, doing, and reflecting. The year one model included a director and 2 teachers. It included blending learning curriculum and competency-based curriculum. Face-to-face meetings and trainings were included in the year one designing phase. There were site visits, capacity building. There was compensation through a C3 grant, and there was also a capstone project. So they wanted to know what they had learned, got feedback from the programs and planning with the programs.
As the year, NMSU Alamogordo is in phase 2 of the C3 initiative. And when we originally started, although this was the model and principles, remember that the programs that came into the C3 initiative were at different areas within their own programs. So this served as a template for us as we began to redesign our programs. So the year 2 launch, what we did was, as stated, we initially started with the model, but as we were going through, we realized within our own programs that communication was vital. You have to be able to have a strong team within your own program to be able to do all the work that's required. But you also have to share the expertise that you've learned within your program. And the idea behind that sharing process was done through Hangouts, virtual meetings. It was also shared through Google Classroom, and then we also realized that we probably needed to slow down the curriculum to be able to look at the changes that were made. I know as a year 2 program, that's definitely something we had to do. We had to slow down and go back and look and see if did we take on too much? What changes needed to be made? And one of the things that we did was, once we designed curriculum, we had to go back in and put in the standards. So, and actually, as the teachers were working through the newly redesigned curriculum, they were able to identify areas that needed to be adjusted. But the bottom line is that the whole thing behind everything that was happening is that our goals for the initiative, for programs that were in this initiative, they wanted us to keep things in mind: managed enrollment, intensive orientations, strong internal team building components, and to develop an internal professional development system. And I'm ending that with the capstone project to show and encapsulate everything that had been learned through that year. What was our journey? How are we going to capture that? And that was identified through a capstone project.
Year 3 critical mass. So in 2018-2019, half of the state's adult education programs engaged in C3, and that was 12 of 24 programs. Technology initiatives, joined efforts with NMDELT to support blended learning. There was a new capacity building element, classroom designed and facilitated by year 2, 3, and NMDELT. Year 2s developed quasi-leadership roles, and there was a differentiated model. We switched from years to phases.
So the timeline that, if you look, the timeline there shows exactly how the process started in 2015, 2016. Started with the initiative coming from tech. We had to incorporate WIOA, the WIOA regulations, create the 7 steps to career pathways, and of course the NCSALL study. And then the C3 initiative was launched in 2016-17. There was 3 programs that were joined with tech. And then by 2017, 2018, they had their first cohort. 4 programs from the state joined, and NMSU Alamogordo being one of the 4 programs. This year, 2018, 2019, we have 5 programs from across the state that are now in the C3 initiative.
Okay, so there are 3 phases to the C3 initiative. Phase 1 is the learning phase. Phase 2 is the transforming phase. And then phase 3 is the leading phase.
So if I could just share a little more on that. So your first year in the C3 initiative is basically just finding yourself, just identifying where is it that you want to go? What direction do you want to take your program? And so that first year is basically just a learning, trying to learn new things, communicating and collaborating with other programs. Phase 2 comes the actual transforming piece. That's when you start taking thoughts to action. And then phase 3, which NMSU Alamogordo will be in next year, we will become a lead program. And during that phase, we become mentors to the new programs coming in as phase 1s.
Okay, key takeaways with the C3 initiatives is building a net. So you're basically building a net within programs, across the leads, across all phase 1, 2, and 3 programs, and the NM-DELT cohort. There is a mutual investment in our collective success.
So what are some of the key components that have been incorporated into the curriculum, the C3 curriculum? Well, as you know, we have it's developed through collaboration, through the competencies, through career pathways. But one word that comes to mind is rigor. You know, that's one thing that in our program that we've done. We've added rigor to our curriculum. We have brought in soft skills. We have done a lot of outreach and marketing. We work closely with our WIOA partners, with the local workforce, and other partners in the community. There's been key shifts in practice and things that we have done prior to where we're at now, and also helping our students with employability, helping them to develop the skills necessary to not only gain an HSE, but also to be able to go out and find employment. There's a website here listed here at the bottom of the page, and you can go online and see the C3 curriculum.
So the C3 7 key competencies are collaboration, and those are internal and external within throughout the programs. They're competency-based, or CBTLA, career pathways, and integration and training, integration, education, and training. They include rebranding and outreach, extensive onboarding, advising, and a professional learning community.
And one thing that I'd like to add, in addition to the key competencies, is a little note is that each program comes to these things as far as integration in different phases. For example, this year we just did our rebranding. We just did that in year 2, because when we initially started, and we have a year 1 program that rebranded right off the bat, we found that we needed to know exactly what were the deliverables that we were going to provide for our students. Before we felt as a team that before we could even get to the rebranding, we needed to know what we were going to provide and what services and in how that and what capacity that was going to be done. So just keep in mind that all these are the 7 key competencies. They're not followed in any specific order. Some people are stronger in some areas and they share those components. I know NMSU Alamogordo has, we have a very strong network within our community. So we've been asked to share that process with our partners in the C3 initiative. So I just wanted to add that not everybody is at the same place with the key competencies. This is the C3 classroom within the Google Classroom, and there's 8 units of blended learning, and it's up this model, and all of the units, we call those pods, and they have been developed by teams within the C3 initiative. So I work with Laura. She may be working on a different pod with a different group from San Juan and one from Tech. In my pod, I know I worked with an individual from UNM Valencia, and I worked with another individual from Albuquerque. So it was a team effort, but with the individuals involved being from different programs to share their experience and their expertise. And these were designed for year ones. So as year ones are coming into the initiative, they go through these pods, and the team that developed that pod serve as support. So they're learning things. They're going into the Google Classroom. They're learning the key components that's identified in each pod.
Okay, so let's talk about the learning phase, or phase 1 of the C3 initiative. So the learning phase includes the internal team, the program quality and improvement, teacher competencies, CCRS and key shifts, tech and blended learning, and it also includes the competency-based teaching, learning, and assessment. So the participation requirements include the whole team, the director, the teachers, the staff, and it is a creation of commitment to professional development for the whole program. The outcome indicators, or what you want to see in your phase 1, are increased MSGs, increase in student retention and HSC graduates, an increase in certificate and post-secondaries, and an increase in programs and students using technology to learn and achieve goals. The learning phase can take 1 to 2 years.
As a year 2 program, I will say that learning is an ongoing process, because if you're making changes within your program, you're learning what works and what doesn't work. And oftentimes we have had to go back to the drawing board. We have done a lot of research to find something that'll work for us, and because something we've tried didn't work. So I'm going to just say that learning doesn't only happen in phase 1, 2, or 3. I think learning is something that's happening every year, because the whole idea behind the C3 initiative is transforming. And through transformation, there's a lot of learning going on.
Okay, so phase 2 is the transforming phase, and this is the phase that we are currently in right now. And here we've added our WIOA partners, our IET, and career pathways. The participation requirements are the same as they are for phase 1. The outcome indicators are still the same, and they remain the same throughout the initiative.
And as far as being a phase 2 and being in transformation, we do follow the same components that year 1s and year 3s follow, but again, we're at different points. We have established a strong partnership with our WIOA partners. This year is our big year for bringing in IET. We focused a lot on career pathways last year. This year, we're focusing a lot on IET. We have a very strong internal team. We've done a lot of professional development, helping our instructors to identify exactly what areas they need support. And so we've worked on that component as well.
And the phase 3 is the leading phase, and all of the components are included that they were in the phase 2, but this is the leading phase. Again, participation requirements are the same, as well as outcome indicators, and this phase can last from 1 to 3 years.
And that is what we're preparing for as a year 2 program. We're looking at what do we need to do? What do we want to have accomplished by the end of this year? Where do we want to be when we step into the leadership role? And again, I want to reiterate that could be different. That's going to be different for our program than it will be from any other program. Our readiness, there's not a rubric that's going to say, oh, I've accomplished every one of these things and I'm prepared. No, it's up. Each program will determine what level of readiness that they're at and the challenge that they're ready to move forward with.
So this is an example of the assignments in Google Classroom. So you've got week 2, which is February 11th to February 17th. And this is the 4 C's of brain-based framework. So week 1, you've got an assignment. You've got several assignments in week 1. And this is all used in Google Classroom. Oh, C3, here is a link for the C3 curriculum for 2019. If you are interested, go check that out and see what the curriculum has to offer. This is also there. Here's a link for the C3 website, and it is at this link here.
As we've mentioned in earlier slides, the ultimate and the end goal for all programs going through the C3 initiative is that we are looking to increase our MSGs. We want to increase our retention. We want to increase our HSC graduates. We want to increase the number of students that are going into post-secondary education. We want to make sure that our students are well equipped with the use of technology so that as they move forward into post-secondary or into employment, that those skills will be there for them.
Lessons learned. So the lessons that have been learned from, and I realize you probably can't see all of this slide, the lessons that have been learned since the start of C3 are that more depth and less breadth is needed. It does take a toll on the lead teams. It basically becomes a second full-time job. There are funding challenges, and it must be integrated into the entire state's PD efforts.
And as a year 2 program, I know one of the things that we talk about all the time, we talk about sustainability. That is very important. Yes, we're doing some amazing things and making some great changes, but we have to always plan with foresight as we're looking down the road. How are we going to sustain the initiatives that we're changing now? Are they realistic? Are they making progress for us? Is it making progress for our students? Are the outcomes what we want them to be? But the most important is sustainability. And I think another thing that I'd like to add to that is change. If any program that is going to be joining the C3 initiative or more interested in what the C3 initiative is about, change. If you get into being in this, going through the process, one thing that I have learned is that you have to be willing to change. There's a lot of things that you will find that don't work in your program, and you have to be willing to make those changes. And a lot of those changes oftentimes come with difficult decisions. Here's some contact information for people that are on the C3 initiative, and their if you have any questions, they're from different programs that are in the initiative, if you'd like to reach out and talk with any of them. Thank you for your time today. We really appreciate sharing our information and our journey as we go through the C3 initiative.
Well, thank you very much, Laura and Maria. Thank you very much. Tina, do you have any questions for them at this time? I did not see any questions right now. I have one, Laura, if I may ask. Who is taking part in the in your program at Alamogordo, and how many? And is it open to anyone who wants to? How many people are actually involved?
Well, actually, we have 4 people that are involved in the initiative. We have one that will be leaving our program, but we have a new, hopefully we will hire a replacement and they will come in and start with us as well. We have a small program, and it was important to me that I had all instructors involved, because I want them all to have a voice in the changes that we're making.
Are those HSE instructors or ESL or ELA or something else?
We have 1 ESL, 1 English, 1 math, and myself as the director.
Wow, great, great. Then I think we're just about to wrap it up here. I want to thank you, all of you who may be joining us today or listening later on in the recording. Again, thank you, Maria and Laura. I have an announcement from NM-DELT, just a reminder, next Wednesday, the ELA Tech Talk number 3 in a series, our spring series for English language acquisition instructors is Wednesday, April 17th at 12:30. The title of the session is Practice and Conclusion, Tech Strategies that Reinforce English Learning. That is yours truly, Don Dutton, and Monse Oyonada will be presenting that. So please join me and us if you can. And don't forget that a lot of information is available for you at nmdelt.org, and notifications are typically sent about to the events that we have to instructors with anyone with an NM-DELT account, the NMAEB listserv, and the NMAE New Mexico Adult Education listserv. And thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Dan.